Hey friends, we're on the next step of lesson 5 and we're going to be creating a dashed line. So I'm going to open up my layers panel and hide this template. Artboard to make sure we are on dish. So we're going to create the line segment tool from our keyboard shortcut backslash, or you can just click. And we're going to draw a horizontal line. And if you look in the book, it's kind of between where C and B were, right around here. And we're going to draw edge to edge where it says path, and holding down shift to create a straight line. So it goes from edge to edge. And we're going to make sure our line is selected, line yes. And we're going to do some different stuff. So we're going to click on this orange stroke to open up some panels. We're going to take the weight of this line from 1 point to 40 points. It's not going to be that thick. And then dash line over here, we're going to make sure this is selected. And it repeats of 12 points. We're going to take this first 12 to 5. We're going to take first gap value 3. And we encourage you to play this around different settings on your own. The second dash value is going to be 2, tabbing over, and the next gap value is going to be 4. It looks kind of like a barcode, but it's kind of different, neat pattern. So these numbers should be 5, 3, 2, 4. And with this line selected, we're going to make an adjustment. So we're going to go back to stroke, and we're going to change the stroke color. Now the book wants us to make it to a light yellow swatch, but we're not going to do that, because we have different settings. We need to make it a light gray. The stroke is going to be C69, M36, Y62, K58, or hex code 33333333. So we're going to open up. You actually double click it here so we can pull in that hex code real easy. And it's going to be kind of a darker gray. If we look, it should actually be 8. So this stroke's going to be the lighter gray, but the dash should actually be 8. So this stroke's line to be lighter. The cup is going to be that dark gray. Cool. And actually we're going to change the fill of our cup while we're at it to C1, C1, C0. Again, I am just selecting from over here to kind of cut through these codes. Cool. So our changes are made, and this was just so you know that you've paid attention to the handout and you're not just copying straight from the version on the book for the final one. So what we're going to do is make sure this stroke over here, make sure it's aligned to the outside, and we're going to make this stroke 3, and this is for the cup stroke. So it's nice and big. Do Command S to save our process. Select both. And we're going to do a Command G to group. So anytime we move this, it all stays together. Cool. So we're just going to leave it as is. And we're going to go to our spoon layer, or not layer, artboard. And we're going to make some adjustments with the knife tool. So we're going to scroll to the bottom, and our scissors are our knife tool is like under our scissors, and it looks kind of like a serrated knife. And what we're going to do is draw a line. It wants us to press caps lock to get kind of a purse-sized crosshair cursor. That's only if that helps you. And we're just going to draw this in the shape of arch. When you use the knife tool, you can't just go edge to edge because it's not going to cut straight through. You need to cut over and over. Give yourself some room. So we can kind of do like this, and it's going to kind of does it in a nice arch. I can take my selection tool and pull it out there if I need to. Command Z back. I'm going to take this knife tool. If I hold down Shift, it's going to cut in a nice straight line. I'm just going to do Command Z. So what we're going to do eventually is kind of do a straight line. Make sure we're going past, hold down, edge to edge, there. And we're going to deselect everything. We're going to try to take this bottom bit and drag down. So we've taken one full shape and we cut it into two different shapes using the knife tool. The knife tool is pretty helpful for all of that stuff. So with the spoon shape selected, we're going to select both parts. We're going to do a transform rotate, which we have done the last lesson, and we should know we're just going to take it to 45 degrees. Negative 45, my bad. And it's going to tilt our ice cream. And what we're going to do is we're going to start dragging everything over to our ice cream artboard. So we're going to drag this shape over. And if we need to go back to our original artboard, show all of our layers to match it. Cool. I'm going to drag our cup over as well. If I get curious about placement, I can always go back and look. Do a File S for Command Save. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is adding some arrowheads to play around with. So make sure template is hidden, we don't really need it. And we're going to select under this black line segment under the month. So this is a line segment that was added, and we're going to go to stroke. And down here we have the word arrowhead, and we can add some arrangements. As you can see, we have a couple different options. It wants us to choose arrow 35. It's got a nice little hand looking thing over here. And under the scale, we're going to make that 40. And we're going to make sure this is selected where it goes to the right, the arrow tip into the path. Make sure it faces to the right. And you see we have our placed arrow tip at end of path. And we want that arrow tip to be arrow 20. So the first one's going to be an arrow tip, arrow 20. The next one's going to be 35 facing to the right. And the scale for both of 40%. This one 30, that one 40. Stroke weight up to 50. So it made it nice and big. Now we kind of just went a little backwards, but that's totally fine. So weight 50, stroke arrow 20, scale 30, arrow 35, scale 40. Place arrow tip at end of path, so it's kind of a nice hand pointing. And we're going to change the stroke color to match the cup stroke. And it's going to be kind of this light green right there. So we're going to be drawing with the pencil tool next. So we're going to take the pencil tool, just under the shaper tool, keyboard shortcut N for Nancy. And we're going to take our ice cream shape right here. We're going to take the stroke weight up to 6. And we're going, so we have a nice kind of thick outline. You may need to kind of adjust this. Take this large spoon shape, object arrange, send to back. We want it behind our shape. We want the stroke above that. And now we're going to draw with our pencil tool. Make sure nothing is selected. And we're going to kind of double click our pencil in our tool panel. And there's some settings on page 171. So this is really helpful for when you are using a tablet, and I really encourage you to play with the pencil tool. There's so many cool things. So we want to, and there's a lot of more options over here than there is in the book, because I'm using a different version. So we want the smoothest slider to be 90 or under. And we really can't make too many different arrangements. It's not letting me change our settings into a very yacht smoothness. And you want it to be really smooth. You don't want it to be 100%. I'm just going to assume and kind of guess for, kind of match my settings the best I can and see where it works. I change the stroke weight up to about 8 up here. Make sure our fill is none. And we're going to kind of zoom in through this shape. And we're going to kind of, if you look in the book, we're going from one end to the other. Kind of drag an arc around the end of this spoon shape. I kind of did the best I could. And we're going to actually make sure the color of our pencil is not so dark. We're trying to match it to be. Cup stroke. That's the way we want it to be. And what it did is it kind of just added kind of some depth to it. So right now, let's actually go, before we do anything, just select our ice cream. And we're going to change our ice cream because we never changed the colors of it. Yeah. So we want the stroke color to be cup stroke and then the fill to be ice cream speak. So we want cup stroke and then the fill of this to be ice cream. And we want this cup object arrange, send to back. Okay. But we need this, the little part of our ice cream, the little part of our spoon, object, click on it there, object, arrange, send to front. But I'm going to drag it underneath. This shape a little. I may play around with this shape. Now with the pencil tool, you're able, because it draws a path, and if you're into illustrations, this is great because you can it's a live shape that you're creating. All right. Kind of took us a little sidetrack, so we're going to go back to that pencil tool, keyboard shortcut N. No fill. There is a stroke. And we're on page 172, and we're just going to draw a little kind of drip of ice cream there. Make sure this stroke, use my eyedropper, make sure the fill matches, and we're just going to draw a little teardrop. If it doesn't do a fill, that's fine. We can just add it later. And there we go. And you can always kind of rearrange. I edit with your tool. Let's kind of zoom out. Got our ice cream. Our ice cream is looking a little lumpy. I may want to change it and see if it wants to match over here. And it's close enough. It looks like our stroke for our pencil tool was a little different over there. We can change that. Make it a little darker. There we go. It's looking so much better. Probably shouldn't make your ice cream look so lumpy, but it's a good save. So we're going to do a Command S save. We're going to submit our Illustrator in file for a grade. And we're going to file export. Now we don't need these extra artboards. They helped us at the beginning, but we don't need to export them. So we're going to go to File, Export, JPEG, use artboards, range 1. So we're only using artboard 1, export, everything matches, cool. And we're going to file export, and you will be done with lesson 5, and you'll be done with this week's lessons.